Hi, I'm Michelle Loud, co-head writer for Jeopardy!
And I'm Jeopardy producer Maggie Speak.
And you're about to watch our panel from the 2019 Trivia Nationals in Las Vegas.
We talked about Alex, auditions, secrets from the writing staff, and more. We hope you enjoy.
Let's start talking about Jeopardy! First of all, Maggie, would you like to begin by talking about yourself a bit?
Sure, I started on Jeopardy. I actually started on the kids' version of Jeopardy. It was called Jep.
Yeah!
And was there anybody that was on that show? Because I see them now and they're 40 and it really upsets me. And then I did Wheel 2000, which was the kids' version of Wheel of Fortune. Then I was hired to do Rock and Roll Jeopardy! Anybody on that show? Oh, that was a good one. And then eventually I got hired on, as 1998 as a full-time staffer on Jeopardy! And Wheel of Fortune, and then became a producer on Jeopardy! About, I don't know, 10 years ago or so, and I've just been at the time of my life working with such amazing contestants, such talented writers on our staff, and of course, Alex. We'll talk about him in a little while. So I love all of you. If you've been on the show, you know I do, and Maggie loves you.
Thanks, Maggie. Michelle, you're the mystery woman here. Can you tell us about yourself a bit?
I can. I started with the show in 1993 as a researcher. In 1997, I started as a writer on Jep, working with Maggie. And then I wrote for Rock and Roll Jeopardy! As well as Jeopardy! Starting in 1997. And I wrote for Sports Jeopardy!
That's for me too. I didn't write for
Yeah. And 2 months ago, I got a promotion, was made co-head writer with Billy Weiss.
Okay, and players. Kristen, please start.
Hi, I'm Kristen I'm Kristen Soswell. I was on Jeopardy! In 2015, and I won 5 times, and then was a quarterfinalist in that year's Tournament of Champions. I'm a stay-at-home mom from Newark, Delaware.
Hi, I'm Justin Sosville. I'm a urologist from Newark, Delaware. I was on Jeopardy! In 2011, won 6 games, and was in the semifinals of the Tournament of Champions.
And are you two the only married couple to have been as successful as you are?
That's right. To our knowledge, we're the married couple with not only the most collective Jeopardy! Wins, but also the only married couple wherein both individuals have been the Tournament of Champions.
My name is Cliff Gallagher. I was a sophomore at UCLA when I was the 2007 college champion, and I was a finalist in the 2007 Tournament of Champions.
Excellent. So these are our panelists. Thank you. Now, before we start talking about some of the tactical things, the nuts and bolts about Jeopardy! I think I would like to all know an update about Alex.
Yeah, I'd like to let you guys know, first of all, we're all wearing our purple bracelets to support Alex in his fight against pancreatic cancer. I know you all know, I'd imagine he was diagnosed with stage 4 pancreatic cancer. I want to start by telling you guys, he's doing so well. We've done the first 20 shows of season 36. He's been on stage, he's been strong. He's doing very, very well, and we're really pleased. And I want a personal thank you to, and I'm going to pass this over to Michelle to talk a little bit more about the pancreatic cancer walk that we did at the LA Zoo. We raised quite a bit of money. But I want to thank all the contestants, former contestants, that donated, whether it was $35, whether it was $5, whether it was $500. You all were very generous, and you've already given us so much that Alex and all of us would like to thank you for that as well. And keep the good thoughts coming, because we think they're really helping him a great deal. Michelle was our team captain for the pancreatic walk, and she made us raise money. She was hard.
I was very mean to everybody, but you guys really came through for me. Our team came to the party late. We were the #1 team because Jeopardy! Likes to be #1. We raised $70,000. And Alex really does say that he feels like everyone's thoughts and prayers are helping him, and he's doing so well that he's been back up on his roof doing home repairs again. So
the next injury is in the works, I have a feeling.
Okay, well, now, as I said, we asked people to send in questions, and a lot of the questions were about the audition process, not surprisingly. And so one of the questions that several people asked is, what makes someone stand out at an audition? And there's kind of variations on that theme. Are you looking at how people are behaving when they're just chatting with other people in between the actual audition parts? If you see what I mean.
Like, at least they're irritating me. Like, about when you come to play the game, when you audition for the show, we'd like you to be nice in the audience. We'd like nice people to be on Jeopardy. And so far, mostly, we've been very successful. I'm looking at you, Jerome, when I say mostly. That's with true love, you know that, Jerome. The best way to nail an audition for Jeopardy is to pass the test and do well playing the game, and then show us something that's different than maybe everybody else when you play the game. Get up here and have a lot of energy. Let us know your real personality. If you're a real fierce game player, show us your fierceness. If maybe you have more fun playing the game, be who you are, but to the most of your ability. Be the biggest version of yourself, so we know exactly what we're going to see when we get you on the show. And have fun with us. We do ask you to have fun with us because we like to have fun.
Turn it up to 11.
Exactly.
And Cliff, I mean, all of us have obviously auditioned for the show. What do you think you did that made you stand out in your particular audition?
Yeah, I don't think it was anything big, but I do remember some details because when I was picked as the UCLA contestant, all of my friends asked me, like, why you? Like, why did they pick these people? And my tryout was a little unlike a lot of people's experience, but probably more like the audition here because mine was on site at the UCLA Student Union. So it was a, sort of mock setup of the Jeopardy stage, and we did the written test and everything. I remember the students who were interviewed on either side of me sounded much more interesting. One was born in Indonesia and had traveled the world. Another was the ROTC, and here I was thinking, like, I'm just this boring guy from suburban California. I've got nothing to offer. But when we did start playing the mock round, I noticed that those contestants were playing very seriously. They were very being as neutral as they probably trying to keep their nerves down. But I remember I was smiling. I was really I was laughing at some of the clues. And then when I got I was genuinely guessing on a question about Grover Cleveland. When I got it right, I just said, cool. And that started the next category. And I remember because there were people on the Jeopardy crew who were chuckled when I said cool. And so it wasn't a big moment. I didn't play it up that much, but it was personality while playing the game. And I really think if there was if I had to guess that there was anything that made me stand out, it would be showing a fun personality while playing the game.
And can I add just quickly to that? Nobody should ever come play neutral Jeopardy. If you want to get on the show, don't be neutral. Do it.
But you also mentioned, be your authentic self.
Yes.
So be relaxed and don't be
if that's
trying
what
too hard.
some people aren't so relaxed authentically, so it depends.
Oh, fair enough. Fair enough.
If you're not a laid back person, don't come in and be laid back. But if you're a go-getter, come get it. Come get it.
Kristen, how about you? How about your audition? Do you remember anything that made you stand out?
I think, I tried to tried to show that I understood how the game needed to progress, that I was going to be calm, that I was going to not need to be told to speak up, not need to be told to speak up. I was going to answer a form of the question, I was going to keep things moving, and kind of little reminders to myself, okay, yes, you rang in, they called on somebody else. Don't get a mean look on your face. Don't get frustrated. Just show that you're going to be easy to work with, Yeah.
And Justin, anything?
Well, I think that the biggest thing I took away from my interview experience was I really did try to come to it having kind of turned my personality and my demeanor up a little bit, not so much so that it seemed forced or fake or weird, or at least no weirder than I normally come across. The key thing is just to have, I think, a little more intensity about oneself than one normally does.
Excellent.
Oh, by the way, Justin, you are a bit weird, honey. I'm just in such a good way.
So you guys are getting a taste of what it's like waiting in the green room before going on, being in the room with Maggie. It's fantastic. Now, Michelle, you're the only one up here who's not really involved in the audition process, but the writing process is something that all of us wonder about. So often I look at because the format, it's 5 lines of 15 characters each, is that
It's a
it?
maximum of 7 lines of about 17 characters.
Yeah, close enough, okay. And so,
Those 2 lines make a big difference.
yeah, exactly. But for me that stands out as a massive restriction. But what is the biggest challenge in writing the Jeopardy questions for you, the actual writer?
Wow, that's a tough question. You come in every day and there's always something new to write about. Even if you've written books and authors a million times, there's always a new book that's come out. There's always a new movie. And I work with the strangest, weirdest, funniest, smartest people, and we have strange, funny, weird, smart conversations that spark ideas that produce what you see on the game board.
Excellent. Back to the subject of auditions. I gotta check my notes. So a few people asked about auditioning multiple times. If you have auditioned before and you're auditioning again, should you tell different stories? Should you try to be a different way?
Well, yeah, I think people do learn. You can see when some people come back that maybe they're a little bit looser the second or third or eighth time they've tried out for the show. You know, some of the great players have tried out several times. Roger Craig tried out, like, I want to say 7 or 8 times. So it really, honestly, we just don't have room for everybody. We love you all. We don't have room to put everybody on the show. We're limited to 400 per season, so it becomes tough. Yeah, if we've seen you before and we remember you, tell a little bit of a different story, or some people I don't even let them, like Harv. Harv, you know, you've tried out how many times, Harvey? 8th time tomorrow. And I basically just ask him if it has karaoke because he sings karaoke around the world. So I don't even give Harvey a chance to change up his story. I just kind of start by talking about where he's been and what he's singing. Yeah, just learn from the last. Just people. I think people are more comfortable when they come back, and that's the other thing I can say. Honestly, just don't be afraid when you're trying out for the show. Just come and be ready to do it and see what happens. That's all.
Okay. Well, you mentioned learning.
Yeah.
And one of the things that my part of my Jeopardy journey was, it sounds like a funny thing to say, but being on Jeopardy really taught me how to learn to lose.
Yes.
Because especially because I was a 5-time winner, and that was back when you got retired after 5 games, and I got back to the Tournament of Champions, and I lost. And it was hard. And it made me actually understand that life goes on, and it doesn't actually affect who I am as an individual at all. It's just a game. And so,
Honestly, Leslie also had a really great life-changing event from being on Jeopardy, didn't you?
yeah, I did actually. Yeah, when I was like 2 weeks before my games first aired, by sheer chance, I met a reporter from the Wall Street Journal at a party and told her that I was going to be on Jeopardy, and she ended up doing, this was in '92, was the depth of the recession, and I didn't have a job, so she made me one of the front page features on the Wall Street Journal with a little pixelated picture. You know, overeducated person can't get a job, so wins money on game show was pretty much the title. But out of that, I got 15 job offers from around the country, and my current career totally came out of one of the jobs that I took. So yeah, I owe my entire career to Jeopardy. So yeah, love it. But on the subject of learning, do any of you have anything that you, like, I don't know, the Jeopardy experience taught you about yourself or about being on Jeopardy that you'd like to share?
I think one thing that I was not expecting at all, and I think a lot of women in particular I've noticed have had a similar story, is a lot of personal confidence has come out of it, regardless of whether you win, whether you lose, and including myself, I know of multiple women who have ended relationships with toxic people in their lives as a result of the confidence that they gained from being on the show. And to me, it's just like, I love, you know, anytime I hear these stories about women who are so empowered to be able to end something with somebody, with any, you know, family member or relationship that was hurting them, you know, it's just incredible.
That's fantastic.
Obviously not this.
That's
That's awesome.
Cliff, did you have something to add?
I don't know anything huge and fundamental, but I remember going into Jeopardy. I had played team events before, Quiz Bowl and, a Quiz Bowl in high school, a televised team game when I was in my teens. And this is an individual event, and I really, especially because it was a college tournament, I thought everyone would be rivals and everyone would be, you know, the competition. And I really found that the other contestants became my best friends, and that's been true in the tournaments that I've been in, all the people that I've met since the show. I think really discovering the Jeopardy community was the biggest change that Jeopardy gave me in that.
That's, yeah, I definitely echo that. Well, speaking of the Jeopardy community, the Jeopardy fan base and the blogs and all of the boards that are out there, that's actually something that didn't exist when my early days on Jeopardy. And Michelle, one of the questions that was sent in was, I mean, people are writing in the Jeopardy blogs and the Jeopardy posts and analyzing the questions and saying things like, oh, last night's Daily Double was a real loser. Do the writers...
See how she kind of mumbled that for me?
Sorry, online. Do you, the writers, do you ever look at the comments that people are making online and and have that factor into, take that as feedback for the questions that you write?
Some of us do look at it, but we have to write the game that we're going to write. We're going to pick the daily doubles we're going to pick. I know there's analysis of where they are on the board, and some of us, there's 8 of us, would have different opinions about whether we should let that influence what we do. And I feel like we get to put out the game that we want to put out with no disrespect to the fans, but the fans get to, you play the game you play, we play the game we want to play. So we do look and we're cognizant of some of it, but we also have to shelter ourselves from it a little bit because we do by design have to be, this is very unusual for me to be in a room with Jeopardy contestants and expected contestants. It's very uncomfortable. I know that Rocky is looking at me somewhere and cursing me, even though he told me I had to come. So by design, we insulate ourselves from it in a certain way.
Okay, makes sense. Well, Maggie, one of the questions that was sent in that I particularly liked is, what have people done at auditions that totally screwed up their chances of ever getting on the show?
Okay. All right. I'm going to tell you something right now. Anybody here going to try out tomorrow for the show? All right. So, if you make it to the part where we're going to play the game, the mock game, and I tell you to grab your buzzer from on top of the table, don't start looking at the wire. You make sense? You're not listening. You're not paying attention. Focus. Grab the buzzer off the table. That's one of the things that I look at that like, that might be a sign. I'm kidding. I mean, but seriously, really, I think if people are mean to other people, we have people that might be like shouting out what the correct responses are and how, they might make that kind of a noise. Brad did a couple times when he was in the audience, watching other people play. No, you did, never have. A little scuff. In all honesty, if they're not polite to the other players, or if they're particularly disrespectful to the other players, that's not something that we really love, unless they have something else that they brought that was really fabulous to the table, then we'll make an exception. Like in the case of Jason Starlocki. Teachers Tournament winner 2016. 16. Not 2060.
Over on the contestant side, what are some of your favorite memories? And memories about things that you don't know about unless you're actually on Jeopardy. Like one of mine was in my very first game, I was actually really tense and I wasn't doing that well. And then after the first commercial break, I'm like, well, I'm not gonna win this thing. So I relaxed, and that was actually when I started winning. But I got so focused on the board, and the scores are over here, that I didn't have time to look over at the scores. And you can actually see people on TV, you can see them look left when they're looking at their scores. And then at the very end, when it ended and I had won in a runaway, I was playing against 2 men, so I was standing on a box. Because the camera needs to pan side to side, so my head would be even with theirs. I was so surprised that I literally stepped backwards and fell off the box. And so any kind of insider stories that come to mind for you all? Cliff?
I think the thing that I learned for the first time being a contestant that wasn't ever evident to me watching at home is the lights around the board. I just always assumed, that there's this sort of magical rhythm to people buzzing in, that you could buzz in, like as soon as the question was beginning, Alex was beginning to read the question, and then he'd finish it, and then the person who buzzed in first would go. But when the clue finishes, the lights that come up around the board that you can see on the stage, like that really changed my perception of how to time the right point to buzz in at. And another thing that I always thought was, I need to figure out the perfect buzzer strategy, the perfect way to come into play. But I remember when it wasn't working for me or wasn't working for one of my competitors, they would change the way they buzzed, and they would start to get in more. So if things weren't working, changing the angle that you hold your hand at. I remember Doug Higdon, who was the second place contestant in my Tournament of Champions. He shifted from buzzing with his hand to folding his arms and keeping his hand steadier. And it helped him, it certainly helped him against me in our second game. So yeah, so I think the ability to change your strategy while playing was a big factor that I just never thought about before.
Can I just add, that is exactly correct. I mean, that is 100% correct. You know, when you come to the show, you might have an idea of how you think you should play the game or how you should approach it. The game might show you something different, and be willing to change and grow and you know, be a little
Adapt.
fluid and adapt to what's happening. Absolutely. Well done. Good
Which
advice.
is hard to do when you're like deathly scared
And
and
freaking
cool
out,
and
yeah,
totally
sure.
freaking out. Yeah, which everybody is. So,
That's
yeah.
another thing that I think that a lot of this advice is very easy to give and hard to follow. Like it's hard to remember to bet correctly. It's hard to remember to not buzz in when you don't really have a good idea or when you haven't thought of what an answer is. You can buzz in on a clue and realize you have no clue what the correct answer is.
I remember feeling like on the stage, like I all of a sudden had a lot of balls in the air. Like, okay, I have to figure out how I want to hold the buzzer, how it's going to work for me. Quickly trying to rotate through a bunch of different ones to figure out what worked. Figuring out, when am I going to try to go off the lights? Am I going to try to go off of Alex's voice? And I was kind of thrown during rehearsal because I'm so used to Alex's cadence from watching the show over and over again that when Glenn, one of the coordinators, was running the rehearsal, I was not used to his cadence, and so I couldn't, get in to save my life during rehearsals, and just kind of having to tell myself, okay, well, let's regroup, let's, not give up here, let's keep trying, and after the first round of my first game, I was in the red, and just kind of having to gather myself together and keep going and make a comeback was, it was all challenging trying to keep it all together at once.
Yeah, I like your comment, Kristen, about sort of the need to multitask when you're actually playing the game. And Cliff, I think you alluded to this. The way I sort of, broke it down just to sort of get it to a level of cognitive workload that I could handle was that I figured my only task during the clue was to decide, should I push the button or not?
Yes.
Make that decision first.
And you have a beat. You have a solid beat to figure out how to formulate and express your response once so first job is make the light in front of you go on.
Yeah, and actually a corollary to that is I actually found myself paying zero attention to Alex during the actual game because you can read it much more quickly than he's speaking. So reading it super fast and then just waiting for the light to come on and then ringing in. Yeah, Alex, sorry Alex, but I just don't really even remember you very well from the actual game experience. So, but we've had lovely decades of traditional Jeopardy, but of course this year we had the All-Stars version, which was a totally different thing. And so how did you all feel that format was accepted and how did it go? And do you think you'll do it again?
I don't know if they'll do it again, but I thought it was a blast. I think at first, and you guys might be able to even respond to this better than I can, I think it was slightly confusing about what we were doing in the beginning for people who were watching the show, but I think once they got the hang of it, we were playing straight through. I thought it was quite exciting. And to have to, Brad was team captain, Pam was there, where's Colby Burnett, one of the other finalists, who else is here that was in the, Alan is here, and I think to depend on other people sometimes was a great help for some of these players, and sometimes it was like, oh my God, I can't believe I have to give up control of this situation right now. But in all honesty, as team players, did you think it, was it fun for you guys?
Yeah, it's, Jeopardy's an individual sport, right? But I've always enjoyed the team dynamic thing. And just having teammates and being adapted, trying to compete in terms of my leadership skills as well as just my Jeopardy playing ability. I thought it was really cool.
That's a big game show voice of a champion, ladies and gentlemen, if you're trying out for the show.
And Michelle was the All-Stars tournament different from a writing perspective?
was a challenge because we made very sure to not ask them the things we had asked them before, and some of these people have played a lot. So that was a challenge. And it was, but as a fan of the show, as I am too, I was skeptical of how it would work, and it was it was much more fun to watch. The interaction and the play and the playfulness and the draft, and then the actual games was a blast. It exceeded my expectations.
For those of us out in TV land, it was wonderful as well.
So glad, 'cause we loved it.
And I said we wouldn't do it again, mostly because Alex said no, we
Yeah.
would never do this again.
Michelle, that's where I took my lead too, Michelle Walton.
Yeah.
Now, one of the questions that I got quite frequently after people found out, well, still find out that I was on Jeopardy, is, first of all, oh, was that wheel really heavy?
Oh, wait a minute. When we take the All-Stars, we had our party on the Wheel of Fortune set, and we all got to spin the wheel, didn't we? And Brad, I think I kicked your butt really hard.
So was the wheel really heavy?
You and Leonard Cooper, I killed you both at the bottom.
And then, so do they give you things to study beforehand? No, absolutely not. So one of the questions I want to ask you all is, how did you prepare? What I did, and I did this before James Holzhauer, thank you very much. I went to the library and got a whole lot of children's books, and high school level textbooks, high school history book, lots of biographies, children's biographies. You can get through those really fast, and if I read the biography, I remember the facts better. So what did you all do to prepare?
I did a ton of Sporkle quizzes.
And how long did you have to prepare? I had about a 3-week notice.
I want to say 6 weeks or so, because I got the call right before Thanksgiving, and then I taped the first tape day of the year in January. My son's birthday, actually. Sorry, then. But no, so I did a ton of Sporkle quizzes, and I went through the J Archive website, read through a lot of clues. One thing that I was trying to analyze when I went through was the different clue values. How did I do across the board? And I noticed that on the 3 lowest value boards, the top 3 rows, I usually maybe around like 80, 85%, I felt pretty confident about those. Then the 4th row was averaging around 60, 70%, something like that. And the bottom row was 50-50. And so that kind of helped me develop a strategy where, okay, clearly I'm going to need to try to get as much money I can on clues in the top 3 rows, and hopefully do well enough on the buzzer that I can run up enough of a score that I don't have to take a chance on the bottom rows. My opponents might have to take a chance, or they might have to wager really big on a daily double. And that ended up being how quite a few of my games played out. So that was useful.
Yeah, I'll just say that I did not really have the opportunity to prepare in any structured way. I had about a 1-month lead time, but unfortunately, this was all happening during my last year of residency, and so between the whole 80-hour work week plus needing to study for boards, and having 2 little kids at home, there really wasn't a whole lot of time around the margins to prepare formally. I did make sure to watch the show every night. I do think that there's something to be said for that, just from the standpoint of kind of getting the cadence of things down. I did look around on the J Archive, which is also a fairly easy resource to use in short periods of downtime. But I will say, in terms, if there's any one aspect of failure to prepare that I regret, it's this, and I'll tell a very brief digressive story. So right before we went, I went back out to tape my second batch of shows. Kristen and I had a discussion about, should we take the kids to an amusement park this summer? And our options were either Hershey Park or Dutch Wonderland, both relatively near us. And so I said, well, I'll take them wherever you want. I can only make it to one just because of, timing. And so we went to Dutch Wonderland, had a great time. The final Jeopardy that I ultimately got wrong and ended my run with, the answer was Hershey's. And had I gone on the tour at Hershey Park, it would have been instantly known to me. So if there's any aspect of preparation that I regret, it's that I didn't go with my family to Hershey Park.
Cliff?
I had 10 days between the time that I got the call and the time that I taped my first episode. So also Sporkle, which I love, didn't exist at the time so I didn't have that particular resource. I was on my college quiz bowl team, so I just took some packets and studied them. But the two things that I focused on, because I didn't have a lot of time to manage for this, were I focused on lists. Some things I know backwards and forwards. The Best Picture winner, Oscar Best Picture winners, the U.S. presidents. I made sure, though, that things that I didn't know for sure, like the kings and queens of England, the state capitals. It was the college tournament for me, so like where all the state universities are headquartered, where major universities, what towns they're in, what their mascots are. I made sure to learn the NFL and NHL and NBA, mascots and teams. Anything where I felt like there's a lot of there are a whole bunch of different facts lined up in a row, and if I can just learn those together, then there will be a lot of clues I can get from context. Often, if it is something from one of those lists, just knowing the names of the kings and queens that don't repeat, like the one-offs, that can be a really helpful thing to have ready. And the other thing that I focused on were Final Jeopardy clues, because I think they really distill the idea of question writing, though Michelle can probably speak more to this, of a clue that seems tricky, but it leads to an answer that's familiar. So really trying to learn how to, from context, come up with something that you think audiences at home will have heard of, that you know from experience. Also hard to maintain when you're on the show and the music is playing and the clock is ticking. But those two things I think were the most productive in the time that I had.
And actually, you guys have reminded me that another thing that I did was I would watch the show every day, and I would use a ballpoint pen and practice with this as the clicker, because the buzzer really, it makes or breaks you. And the other thing that I did was I kept track of the categories and how well I did in each of the categories. And I found that there were some surprising categories that I was really bad at. Like I was terrible at mammals. Mammals. But then I went and I studied the places where I had gaps. And so I was, really pleased when I was able to do really well in opera. I don't know that much about opera. And I ran the Civil War category, which I really impressed myself. But Michelle, actually, one of the things that Cliff just said about Final Jeopardies, the idea of having a question that sounds crazy, impossible, but then leads you to familiar answer. Is that actually what you're going for when you're crafting Final Jeopardy questions?
The idea of a Final Jeopardy is that it's a question you should be able to figure out with a two-step thought process. So rather than just, I know it or I don't know it, and same with the Daily Double, it tends to be more of a two-step thought process to figure it out.
And so that's a conscious thing on the part of the writers,
It is
step one,
conscious
step
that
two.
Finals are written different process and different meaning than the rest of the material.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
And you mentioned Daily Doubles. And they're also written with that two-step process, or they could be?
They're
more like
selected with an idea to that.
Okay,
But not
okay.
written with an idea to that. But when we're going over the games, if it sounds like, oh, that would make a good Daily Double because it's more of a two-step thought process, or if we take these three words out of the clue, it'll be a little bit more of a figure it out. Then it would be a great Daily Double.
Okay. Now, Maggie, is there anything that you've seen in the way that people audition that I don't know, makes you think about how they could or should prepare?
Absolutely. I found recently that I've noticed something that I hadn't noticed before, and so I'm always changing how I talk to the contestants and what I talk about because of what you see on the game. I watch the game at home, and I've noticed that sometimes when a clue comes up, sometimes the answer comes right to you. And that's got to be a great feeling when you're a contestant on the show. Often, a clue comes up and you're not sure what that answer is, and the last thing you should do is not try to figure it out. This is one of the key things to being a successful Jeopardy player, is to look at that and say, oh, I don't know it. No. What's in the category that the writers have given you as information? What's in the clue is information that will lead you. It's a process of really trying to figure it out, and I think that goes with almost any clue. If you don't know what the answer is, start trying to figure it out. Where's the information in the clue and in the category that's going to help you? Don't just let it lie there because you don't know it right away. Cliff?
That's true. Pop music is one of my Achilles heels, and I really kind of came in telling myself I should not guess on these clues. You lose a lot of money if you guess wrong. But yeah, there were categories where there was a context clue, and when I sort of took a beat and thought about it, I could get in.
Yes.
And I got like 3 clues for a total of, I think, like it was $2,400 or so in one match, just because I didn't give up on things that were not in my wheelhouse.
That's key, just key to for a good player.
It's, well, actually, with this idea of, like, you know, having something that is your total weakness come up, you know, that's one of the nightmare scenarios. One of my nightmare scenarios was in the $1 Million Masters tournament. I had moved to Australia, and so I was not watching Jeopardy anymore because I didn't have it in Australia. And you all found me and flew me back from Australia, thank you. But that meant that I had never seen the category before and after. And I got in a game against Bob Harris and Eric Newhouse the category before, during, and after. And I'm going, what is happening?
Listen, even those of us on the staff when that before, during, and after, I think I had an aneurysm when that category came. I was like, what?
Oh my God. So do you all have any, like, on stage or Jeopardy experience nightmares?
In my 6th game, when I saw the final Jeopardy category composers come up, I thought, you know, this has been fun. I've enjoyed it.
So my 2nd game, I was playing against 2 people from the great state of California, and the category was LA landmarks. I thought to myself, so with my grand total of 18 hours thus far in this fine city, I think I'm at a disadvantage. But as it turns out, I had trouble sleeping the night before, and I had been going through the tourist brochures in my hotel room. And there was a reference to the statue of James Dean in the Griffith Park Observatory, and that was what the ultimate that was the final Jeopardy clue. So that was again saved by dumb luck.
I think, the biggest nightmare, I think, is what happened to me in my first TOC final Jeopardy in the finals, which was a category about Nobel Prize winners, saying this American was the first to have his genome sequenced in 2000, and I narrowed it down to Watson or Crick. Watson or Crick. One is British, the other is American, and I picked the wrong one. I didn't have enough knowledge. I could narrow it down, but I couldn't get to the right one. So I think that's an inevitable thing where that Final Jeopardy is the only, and I guess a Daily Double are the only ones where you are forced to answer the clue. So that's a liability. It can come up. But yeah, I think it's always, I think that is one element of acceptance. You have to know that sometimes you'll get lucky and you'll get the right one. And sometimes you'll wind up tails and you'll lose some money.
It's, Michelle, one of the things that, because I was out of the country for a long time, and when I came back, I noticed that the writing actually was different than it had been when I was first on in the early 90s. Because the tactic that I had of tracking the different categories as I was playing, I mean, they really were. They were things like mammals, and the category names have actually changed quite a lot. How would you say the Jeopardy writing has evolved over the years?
It's funny you say that because we found a box of category heads from 1984.
Oh, like the physical cards?
Physical cards. And before it was electronic, they were physical cards that were printed, and they were things like mammals, science, history.
It made it very easy to categorize, I have to say.
and part of that was probably a function of we're only printing so many of them, so we have to use these very broad titles over and over again. They've gotten very specific, they are very fun, they're very playful. I think a lot of that started when Harry Friedman became our executive producer in 1997. And he's allowed us to broaden the show and have a lot more fun with the writing and be a lot more playful.
And Maggie and Michelle, to both of you, what is it that we don't know about Jeopardy? Like just something behind the scenes, like the idea of Harry Friedman actually being somebody who has influenced the question style. Never would have had any thought about that, is there? I mean, I can't imagine there's anything you haven't actually already told us.
The one thing that I will say is I've been in the business for a very long time. In my 20-some odd years with Jeopardy, it's like a family, with all the good and bad things that can be. But there is a great deal of support for all of us to do our very best and to maybe stretch ourselves, which is also Harry Friedman and Rocky Schmidt and Lisa Brofman, our 2 supervising producers. They push us sometimes. And by pushing us, we find out that we can do things that we maybe weren't sure we could do, or make things happen for the show in a positive way, or make things better for the show. And so I think we're all given a lot of leeway and some space to be creative in how we're approaching what we're doing and how we work with everybody and each other. And it's a very warm and encouraging environment.
And I would agree with everything Maggie says, but something that you don't know about the writers is that we want you to succeed. We are not trying to stump you. We
Oh,
want-
yeah?
Yeah. Is that right every time, Michelle?
With a couple of exceptions. But we are not trying to stump you. If we wanted to stump you, we can make the questions much more obscure. And that wouldn't be fun for us. We wouldn't enjoy that. You wouldn't enjoy that. That's terrible television. We want you to answer the questions. When you answer something that's hard, we are cheering for you. We want to see you succeed. We love you guys. You are the avatars for everybody, and we get a kick out of seeing every question get answered.
In the market where I watch, I'm in the Bay Area, a lot of the commercials that run during Jeopardy are for age-related diseases. What is it that, who's your demographic? Who are you writing for, and who actually watches the show?
It's tricky because you are writing for the contestants, but you're also writing for the home audience, because if you're writing only to 20-year-olds, all the people at home are going to say, I don't know. But if you're only writing to people at home who might be a little bit older, say, and needing those age-related medications, then the contestants aren't going to get the material. So it's a little bit of both. And
When you say the people at home, that does sound like you've got somebody in mind as who your average audience member is. How would you describe your average audience member in mind? Have you ever thought about this?
I don't know that I can articulate it for you, but it would tend to be older than our contestants. I mean, I know that the contestants are now trending a little bit younger than me, and the other writers, and we are cognizant of that, and we try to keep aware of what is current and what is out there, and you try to mix a little bit of everything.
I will add that I think, Grant, you can back me up with this. I mean, I believe lately we've got a lot more 30-year-olds. Like, we're back into we're getting some good younger people in our demographic as well. Because of these kinds of events, I really believe that trivia, pub trivia, all the different kinds of groups that you all are presenting and working with are growing a big base for us as well, and for this whole world of trivia that you guys are a part of. And that's one of the reasons we want to be here, to say, hey, you're our people, we're your people, let's have a little get together. I mean, honestly, no, but I do think the Jeopardy contestants are a family. You all are family members with each other and with us, with all of us. Not Michelle so much, because she has to be the distant relative because of her position. But in all honesty, we all do want you. We all want you to succeed as well. So, but I do think, honestly, these kind of groups for us is just really exciting to see how you guys are writing what you write. And that's just from my point of view. It's because what you guys know that maybe we're not aware of, or maybe we haven't been introduced to. And I'm dying to see the simulator, and I want to talk to Fritz about his book about buzzers. I got time with you people. This is just hi.
So, okay, we've got about 10 minutes left. Are there any questions that you all in the audience have that you'd like to put to our glorious panel of experts and experiencers? Yes, in the back. If you yell it, I'll repeat it.
I can get a pretty good box, I think. What I'm not sure about these days is back in the days of the in-person only auditions. Anytime you guys said what a passing score was, it was always 35. You didn't necessarily always say it, but it was always 35 when you said it. I don't think I've ever heard a passing score given since it went to online. Can you say if it's still a fixed number, if it's the top N%, the top N on each test? Or?
It's a good number. Thank you.
Good try. Yes, right here. Okay. So the question is, why is there still a timer in the game so that you can run out and not get to the last question? Why not just make it a little longer and ask the last question.
Because we're a television show and we're limited to 30 minutes on the air, and so really all the gameplay has to happen within 22 minutes for us to be able to fit our commercials in. And sometimes I think it has to do with the difficulty of the clues or the length of the clues. You know, if 3 people are reading on the same clue, that's taking away some time. So it's all, I stop blaming the contestants if they don't clear the game board. That's your job. Get it, move it, move it.
And I will also say that some people jump around the board, and that makes it harder for Alex to get a rhythm with the questions because he's looking on a physical piece of paper and he's trying to find, and when people shorten the category title to a random word in the title, and he doesn't know where to look on the page, that slows down gameplay as well.
Oh, Michelle, that's so Wednesday.
True life story.
True life story.
Yeah.
Yes, right here. What makes a good contestant's story?
Wouldn't I like to know?
I've got some
That
good
you can
stories
tell
about,
on TV.
I have good stories about all 4 of you, for sure. Justin, I could really embarrass, but I'm going to choose not to at this point. Although, Justin, what were you studying? What were you studying before your tournament?
What was I studying?
Yeah, what were you going to be? What were you becoming?
A urologist.
And so very briefly, I'll tell you that I went backstage and I said to Justin, "You're a urologist, Justin, and I've been told I can't touch Advair, and I want to know why." And Justin, do you remember what you said to me?
I think it was Avodart, I think.
Oh yeah, you're right. It was Avodart,
But
not Advair. I can take Advair.
I may have said that it's not safe to be handled by women of childbearing age because it has.
He basically said you don't have to worry, Maggie. It's for women of childbearing age. The lovely Karina, you all know in the back, she writes the stories. I did it before. We've all taken turns, and I think what makes a good, interesting story is something that would just surprise us to find out about you. You know, I think sometimes people don't even realize what they find, what's interesting to other people about them, and that's the key. And Karina's been very good at kind of pulling those things out. Granted that in the past, I've done it in the past. It's kind of tough for the contestants, I think, to think of what's going to be interesting. But I say, ask your friends and family, get them drunk, and then they'll remember all the things that you should talk about on the show and we should know about.
Yes, over there.
Is there a process for becoming a researcher or a writer for Jeopardy?
Ooh, is there a process for becoming a researcher or a writer for Jeopardy? Well, it sounds like knocking off one of the 8 existing ones might be step 1, but
First you have to wait for, I'm sorry? Right. It is very helpful to have started as a researcher. If you want to become a writer, it is much harder to do than you think. Everyone thinks you can do our job, and I know when I first started writing clues, I'd been a researcher for about 3 years. The first clue I wrote was about 12 lines long and had 3 thises in it, and yet wasn't going for anything. So you definitely need some on-the-job experience. Remember to be lucky if you want to get a job with Jeopardy. That's how I got the job. I was lucky. I answered a classified ad because it was so long ago.
wow. Yes.
I have this question for Michelle. What's your favorite clue you've ever written?
My favorite clue I've ever written was it was a final, and the category was probably food and drink, and I don't remember the exact phrasing, but it was something like, in 1929, Mr. Dryer and Mr. Eady created this ice cream flavor to reflect the times ahead, and the answer was Rocky Road.
Oh, that's great.
And I got it from reading the label while I was eating ice cream.
Can I share my favorite clue that Michelle ever wrote? I don't know if you remember this or not. This was, okay, thank you. The category was scary movies, and I don't remember what the clue was, but I know what the correct response
Well, it was something like, she played a yeshiva boy in the movie Yentl.
Scary movies. What is Yentl? I fell off my chair. It was the greatest ever.
Oh, yes, there.
If you have like 1,000 people pass the test, but you only pick 400 a year, how do you decide which 400 or which 600?
That's probably one of the hardest things I do. I get those files and I start trying to get a mix of men and women, different occupations, different parts of the country, different types of people. And then you'll have weeks like this week we were taping where I have a show with DC and a contestant from DC. You see, so sometimes the magic works on that level, sometimes it doesn't. But really, it's a matter of looking at the notes, looking at what other people brought back from their auditions, and trying to decide what combination of people will make an interesting tape day for us. Because I'm not just booking one show, it's 5 shows, or actually 10 shows I'm booking 2 days for. And so there's a lot of different things that I look for to make it an interesting combination. That's kind of what we're hoping for.
Yeah, Pam. So the question is about the J Archive, and you all tolerate it. Do you actually refer to it? Do you use it?
I've certainly looked at it. I'm astounded by it. I have tremendous respect for it. They are doing very hard work. They're transcribing more than we are, so I don't resent it. I don't know how Sony feels about it, but I don't have a bone to pick with it.
Yes, Dan.
You consciously recycle questions, because I noticed about 5 years after I've been on the show, some of the same questions started coming up. They figure it's long enough now, so they got that question about
So are questions consciously recycled?
Not consciously. We do have a rule about how often we can repeat material. It's basically 3 years. And we've just been on so long that, been on for such a long time that, yeah, some of the same stuff comes up again. We try to phrase it differently. We're only human sometimes. Sneak through.
Oh, yes, here, sorry, yes.
I'm sorry.
So what's the, yeah. So what was Watson, yes. What was the experience of having Watson? Brad Rutter says unfair. Those are timing
I
wise.
think we all learned a great lesson. I mean, it was an amazing experience to see the guys that work in AI with tears in their eyes, to see the accomplishment that they had been working on for so many years and didn't think they were ever going to really see. We helped that come to fruition. I do get a little nervous because Watson gave a couple really weird, bad and wrong, incorrect answers. And if he's going to be doing like my medical charts and things, but
Oh, sure, you can take that medicine. Go right ahead.
but I did. But for me, the greatest moment of Watson was afterwards when there was a commercial with Watson and Bob Dylan, and I thought my worlds have collided. I wish I would have worked with Bob Dylan.
I remember I play tested against Watson before the big shots took him on TV. There was a clue about I guess ancient texts that provided us the word for someone who nags, and Watson buzzed in with "What is Jewish mother?"
And the other one, the one that I left from rehearsal, it was actors. This actor had to learn how to play the piano for Ray, and the cello. I can't remember the name of the movie with the cello player.
Oh, the soloist.
The soloist. And Watson rang in and said, "Who is Beethoven?" Now, I will tell a quick story. Brad Rutter, Ken, and I walked through the body of Watson. You know this story. And it reminded me of this bottle of water. So Brad had about this much water in a bottle. And we walked out of the innards of Watson's, what I'll call them. And Brad said, "Shoot, I could have won the whole thing by spilling some water in just the right places."
Okay, so we're just about coming up to the end. So I'll ask everybody to just say one kind of last word, Jeopardy-related thought you want to throw out here and tell everybody. One of the thoughts that I had, something that we didn't really talk about, was nerves, the actual nerves of being on the show. I actually found that I was extraordinarily nervous the first time I was on, and I found that actually harnessing that nervous energy was what really helped me buzz in quickly. So embracing the terror actually helped make me a better player. It's just a bit of, I don't know, thought I'd share that. So Maggie, any last word? Put you on the spot here.
I will tell you that I've been in this business for a very long time, for over 40 years. And I might get a little emotional when I say this, but a lot of you in this room mean so much to me. The honor of working with such bright people, such terrific human beings. The family of Jeopardy is not just about being smart, but it's also about really being kind to one another. I want to talk just quickly about Cindy Stoll, the warrior. champion. And so many of you donated money to Cindy's charity for every correct response you got while she was on the show, and the family that we have grown with our contestants, former and hopefully future contestants, is one of the most meaningful things in my life. And I think all of us at Jeopardy are so thrilled and honored to have all of you as part of our family, and we're looking for some more members. So Aunt Maggie's gonna be looking tomorrow. Come see me.
Thanks, Maggie, because you mean the world to us. And Michelle, we haven't met you before, but we love you.
And I will say, the writers, we have the greatest gig, but we wouldn't exist without you guys. So please keep coming and seeing your Aunt Maggie so that we can keep producing the greatest game show on television.
And contestants, any final thoughts from you?
I guess I can't put into words how grateful I am to have had this in my life, you know, getting to meet everybody involved with the show, my trivia family now, and just above all getting to share this with Justin. Like, I can't put into words my gratitude.
Well, I definitely second Kristen's sentiments. On a somewhat more sort of broad note, though, it was very interesting to me to sort of have that experience of being, you know, recognized randomly on the streets and having a little bit of sort of that transient minor fame. I thought it was really cool. I thought it was fun. But you know, that you do have to, you know, sort of set to the side some of the negative aspects of that, such as, you know, just don't search for your name on Twitter after being Point number two, I did get a couple letters from prisoners. Apparently I was very popular within the prison population.
I really want to thank everyone from Jeopardy for coming here and giving this, you know, this has been a lot of fun to do. For doing the audition tomorrow, I think it's a really great way to bring people in who are daunted by doing it online and flying in for an in-person audition. That's a really great thing to do. I just wanted to say that wherever your Jeopardy journey goes, you know, be grateful for that. The greatest players, with perhaps one exception, eventually lose in the end. If you pass the tests, that is a badge of honor. If you get on the show, that is a badge of honor. If you win one game, that is a badge of honor. If you win a tournament of champions, a super tournament, that is fantastic. But just being a part of this community is something to really be proud of.
And that is something that I think we all. Well, thank you all very, very much, particularly to Maggie and Michelle and the rest of the Jeopardy staff who are here.